All right, looks like we're good to go. So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to tonight's meeting. First of all, we'll start off with Carl Pokris talking about some events. I don't know why you sit so far away.
He needs the exercise. I need to get my steps in.
All right, let's do the space bar. Space bar. Space bar. Where's the space bar? All right. Recap. Recap on the SantaNet. All right. I don't know if we need to recap it so much as thank everybody for participating. Now, I don't know about Noji, but I had half a dozen emails thanking me, and I know I wasn't the only one because Kent did the net control for it one night, and I did it the first night, and he did it the second night. So, but I did get some emails. I probably should have forwarded them out to Santa and some other people to let them know how much people appreciated. Some of them were thanking us for their grandkids getting a chance to talk to Santa on the radio, and they were so excited. And I even got a video from somebody with it. So it was a lot of fun. They weren't long. I think we only did about 40 or 45 minutes each day and each night. So it wasn't that long, but I know a lot of people were out of town. I know a lot of people were out of town because on the net last night, there was a lot of late check-ins. Holy cow, a lot of late check-ins. Poor Ron had his hands full with late check-ins last night. So anyway, so we appreciate all those that were involved with and participated in the Santa's Net. It's always a lot of fun. And we'll do it next year. All right, this got kind of semi-nailed down tonight, this week. Appreciate Lynn. Boy, his call sign escapes me, but anyway, he lives in Highland, securing up the venue at Highland Glen Park. We do it from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. We were trying to get some other venues like the Equestrian Park, but it was like a country mile to the bathroom, and they wanted $65. They don't even have a bathroom. You know, the county is kind of lame that way. I don't know. So we kind of had to scrap that idea. I evaluated it to the very last minute, and $65 buys a lot of chicken, and so we like to do a lot of barbecue chicken. And Stan says he'll have the barbecue ready for us again this year, and so we will cook it on site. So put June 6th on your calendar, and as we always say on the net, you know, don't let some lame family reunion get in the way of coming to the 7-6 barbecue. Get it on your calendar now, and don't do like me and not let my wife know that field day is on a certain day, like winter field day. I'm having to go to the Caribbean for winter field day. So anyway, and I think we have all that stuff ironed out too for winter field day with the club trailer and stuff like that. So that looks like that's all I've got. If anybody's got any questions about it, it'll be a potluck that day, and we always eat about noon, and we do barbecue chicken, and we have drawings. Noji sets up the HF antennas, and we make some contacts out there from that. Does pretty good from that little valley there. So anyway, hopefully we don't have as much problems with the local DJ blasting out the place for whatever they had, a fishing contest or something there last year, and it was kind of pretty disruptive. So anyway, that's why we're trying to change it for the most part. But anyway, that's all I got. Joe, you're up next.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Anybody tell me what Navy stands for? Stands for Never Again Volunteer Yourself. All right. First of all, about the SantaNet, my 6-year-old granddaughter who lives with us, you know, she was all excited about Christmas and all that stuff, till Santa told her she was on the nice list. And then she was bouncing all over the place. All right, so let's get ready to field day! Woo! Don't let some lame family reunion or trip to the Caribbean interrupt your winter field day. You know I was going to do it. All right, so January 24th to 25th, we'll be operating from noon till noon on Saturday to noon on Sunday. We need people there at 8 a.m. to help set up antennas. Since Carl's not going to be there with the whip and chain, we'll have to somehow get it done ourselves, so no problem there. So we'll get the antennas up. So if you want to help volunteer, be there at 8, and then after the field day, at noon the next day, we need people to help break antennas down. Normally you put 3 antennas up, 3 antennas down. It takes about 3 hours to put it up. Probably about an hour and a half to take it down.
Hey, Joe.
Yes, sir.
Over here. Isn't Carl required to find his own volunteer to replace him?
There's nobody that can replace Carl.
Hey, look at the bright side. Carl could have died.
And then, at Winter Field Day, we're going to have pizzas and drinks at 5 p.m. Noji's going to go out and pick up the Domino's. We're not making it ourselves. Domino's and drinks. So we'll be outside, probably outside my trailer, because I'm the one that puts the heater outside, so I want it in front of my trailer. All right. So that's at 5 p.m. Come on down. Now, because Carl's not going to be there and Noji's not going to be there this year, we need people to take extra shifts in manning the radios. So anything you can help.
When does it start?
What's that?
When does it start?
We start transmitting at noon on Saturday. So people could be there, a bunch of people will be there at 8 a.m. so we can put the antennas up. All right, and summer field day, we're going right straight to summer because it feels all warm and toasty. Saturday, June 27th through Sunday, June 29th. That is virtually impossible. 28th, so Saturday, June 27th through the 28th. That'll be up at our typical Trout Creek place. If you look on Facebook page, there's already an event for that. So it tells you exactly where we're at. Come on up. I know I'm going up about a week and a half before to set my trailer up and kind of reserve the area. I know Carl comes up on Monday, and you know, if you want to bring your trailer up and park it up there, bring it up sometime during the week. We got plenty of security. I'm sure most of us are armed. All right, so the one other thing that's not on here, if you know anybody that wants to take a technician class, we have a technician class starting on the 20th of January, 1 floor up, starts at 6 p.m. It goes for 4 weeks. The 20th, 27th, 3rd, and 10th of February. Yes, Gary.
Our stake is going to be doing a training, a technician course in February. The first 2 weeks of February, we're going to do the training, and the 3rd week the test.
All right. And Dave has, when's your class start?
February. February 12th.
He has a class starting February 12th. That's in Eagle Mountain. Look for Dave on Facebook, or how else can I get a hold of you?
Yeah, just send me an email. It's on QRZ, KS6OSS.
And you get more information on it. All right. So, yes, sir.
About field day. Isn't Dave's group going to do a testing session on that Saturday afternoon?
That's summer field day.
Summer field day, we'll do an exam.
Yep. That's way off. And the thing about it is that will probably be your last chance to take the technician pool that expires June 30th. Yep. July 1st, 2026, the new technician pool comes out. It's already out. You can already download it. But that's when we'll start testing for it. All right, let me see. Class, okay. Gavin, you here? Mr. Gavin. And I'll talk about UCARES, Utah County Amateur Radio Emergency Service. They have a net on Tuesday night at 9 p.m. You can go to ucares.org for more information. They have a whole qualification program, 4 steps. So it's a pretty good program to be part of. And with Gavin, you can order yourself a bright fluorescent green vest and have your call sign on it. All right, Sean. You're up, Sean.
Joe.
Yes, sir.
Information on that. I don't think Gavin's in charge of. They had a leadership change last week. I don't think he's in charge of the membership now. Somebody else is. He's still available, but
okay.
So there is some changes that went on, and certification. Ron isn't doing certification. Somebody else is. So there is some changes. So you got to refer to the website for any information.
ucares.org. All right, Sean, you're up. How do you got it?
Okay, Carl, are we going to have the contact from the Caribbean for field day? Okay, we expect it.
I'd like to put a fire in the Virgin Islands because we never, ever, ever get the Virgin Islands, no matter how hard we try. We can clean and sweep the entire thing, and we will still won't get VI.
Oh, well, now's your chance.
And I'm working on it. We just never get them a field day.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is, for me, one of the most exciting parts. This is a list of some of our brand new hams. So I could read that, but I'd be up here forever, so look that over. And I've got to ask, I do this every time, how many of you have your brand new license either on this list or we've missed it because looks like there might be another page after this. So anyway, who is new in the last month and a half? Okay, look at this. Yay. Okay, new people. Okay, everybody stand up, please, so we can see who you are. Yay. Okay, real quick, tell us your name and your call sign. Congratulations.
KM7 CSR.
Congratulations. Eli, you're next, I guess.
Eli and 9, Kilo Mike 7, Delta November Tango.
Good.
Isaac Payne, KM7DOO.
Congratulations.
KM7DOP. Neil Payne, KM7DPJ.
Congratulations.
Jason Turner, KM7
Fantastic. Everybody, let's give them a hand. Congratulations. Okay, and there's even more, so there's Eli. So anyway, we've had quite a few since it's been 2 months since we've done this. And upgrades. These are our upgrades for the last roughly 2 months. So anybody got their upgrades? General? Extra? Anybody? No? All right, let's give them a big hand. Okay, and one last thing, somebody, new hams, we know who you are now, but anybody, this is your very first meeting with UVARC. Okay, you guys stand up and tell us who you are. Welcome.
57 BPD, Greg Wilson.
Congratulations, and I think there was one more, wasn't there over here somewhere, maybe? No? Okay, let's give them a big hand, and welcome. Okay. Oh gee, is somebody doing the introduction? What?
No, do you want some, a moment there, so just give it to him. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sean, so much. And welcome, everybody. I so appreciate all you guys making the trip out here in our -1 degree weather. At least I think that's what the wind chill is. Man, it finally turned winter. At any rate, I just wanted to let you know, my name is Noji. I'm not on the list here. And I just wanted to let you know that that we're still kind of new in this building, and so we're trying to adjust to things. We used to always come in through that south door here, but after tonight, we got to come in through the north door, which is over here. And that means also that you can park they're opening up the parking lot finally, so you can park over there at the north side of the building. It's going to be kind of a trick to find out how to get there. I don't even know. But anyway, park there and then come out into the north side of the building on this side. Tonight, it was locked. Sorry. We were kind of confused, and so the people actually got the south door locked instead, and the north door was locked. Anyway, so if you can come in from the north door from now on, that would be really good. Let's see. I guess that's it. But anyway, thank you guys so much, and appreciate you being here with us. Before I go and turn the time over to Bryant, Chad, did you want to say something? I'm good. Chad's good. Okay. Before I move on I just want to say a big thanks to Trevor over here, who has always been our IT guy. He is the club's elected technologist. And so he takes care of the website, the membership, a lot of things that have to do with IT, that's him. He takes care of posting our videos and blah, 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 and this and that and the other. And so I just want to say thanks to Trevor and to give him applause too. So before I move on to the presentation, I just want to make mention of Bryant. I don't know Bryant very well. I've met him several months ago online only. Tonight was the first time I've actually met Bryant in person. And he is a blah, blah, blah something with the National Weather Service. And he also does the blah, blah, blah for Skywarn. I'm going to let him do all the introductions to kind of fill in the spaces where I don't even know what I'm talking about. So, Bryant, it's all yours. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. This is actually my first time doing this with Skywarn. Skywarn is a National Weather Service product that helps with the amateur radio side of it all, with the communications to be linked up to the National Weather Service. It's a service that they have that's available free of charge. Take a 2-hour online course, and you get certified doing that way. How I got into it is dealing with storms in Wyoming. I dealt with a hailstorm that came through Wyoming when I was driving back on I-80 and didn't know what I was expecting to see. When I realized what was happening with hailstorms that came in and shattered my car door, I said, I need to get involved with something with weather. So what I did is I looked over with Skywarn, and they told me all the depictions on what is hail, what is rain, and what the characteristics was. And when I did that, I went, this is something for everybody. I don't want to aim to just do it all privately. I wanted to make it sure it was all community-based. So when I said, okay, does Utah have Skywarn? Googled it, no hits. So okay, let's try to create it back Skywarn again, and because I felt it was necessary to bring everybody up to be on the same page with weather, and to help gather the information that the local meteorologist needs to have. They do need our help so bad. I have the passion to help this out with amateur radio. And amateur radio, with taking your technician's license and everything, it would help tremendously make a net control operator and doing that part. But I have the passion when I did that, so I created a Facebook group, Skywarn. I was introduced with Craig and Hal in Davis County, Weaver County club side of it all. And he says, branch out to all your guys' clubs around Utah. I said, okay. So I've been, have created with you guys and connected with that. And I've been sharing all the what the National Weather Service has posted with warnings and a lot. Skywarn is a trademark that is only used for a specific brand of doing that part. And so because of that, it's a unique side versus the other groups of Facebook that covers different stuff that goes on. I mostly are training for people that has the characteristics of what hell is and groffle is and severe storms with what is a hell shaft and everything like that to create and that everybody to get to know where it's going. You can do this at your house. You can do this going out shopping, and you can utilize that with the radio side of it all. You can report it to the National Weather Service through their channels too, but I'm also trying to create another avenue with amateur radio to have a wide net to communicate all of their weather reports, other stuff to do that to them in an orderly fashion to have a group that way and have a frequency of doing that. So I'm just trying to figure out and branch myself out there. So when I did this, I said, okay, I want to help the community out. Now, word of caution, I also have what is known as autism spectrum disability. And because of that, it's hard talking like this. This is all new to me, but it's helping me out with the comfort zone to help interact with other local ham operators, local organizations, making weather be presentable. So I've been contacted with a lot of people with the National Weather Service. I have two gentlemen here that's going to take a good presentation of that. Feel free to, if you have any questions on how to do that, come and talk with me and we'll work that out. But I wanted to come tonight to introduce you to myself. I know you guys see my post on your guys' website. I'm sorry for blanking in all that weather information on your club side, but want to make it sure that you guys are weather aware of what's happening that way. And Alex is going to show you guys a presentation of what to look for as a Skywarn spotter. So I'm going to turn the time over to Alex. And thank you for their time.
All right, thanks, Bryant. And thank you, everybody, for being here and for having us tonight in this wonderful facility. So my name's Alex DeSmet. I'm the warning coordination meteorologist for the National Weather Service in Salt Lake City. And basically what that is a liaison between the users of our products and our meteorologists. And then Hayden, if you want to take a second to introduce yourself.
And I'm Hayden Mahan, meteorologist with the National Weather Service, here helping present with Alex. So happy to be here.
And what you see here, this QR code will take you to a Google form. If you're interested in being a weather spotter for us, there's no obligation to do so. There's no cost involved. Simply scan that code. It'll take you to the Google form. Once you fill that out, we'll get the information and then we'll send you a certificate that certifies you as a spotter after being here tonight. So looks like we just have a couple more of you scanning it. I'll give you another minute to go ahead and scan that. It's been a quiet winter so far, right? We had our warmest December on record, followed by our warmest November on record. I mowed my lawn the week before Christmas. Never thought I would do that again. Sprayed some weeds. So just really crazy, not anything I thought I'd ever see, certainly. But we need the snow for our water supply going into next summer. And unfortunately, we're going back into a quiet pattern here over the next week and a half before hopefully business picking back up towards the end of the month. And if you didn't get it, we can put it back up on the end or at the end as well. Okay, so some of today's topics we're going to talk about. I won't read these line by line, but basically how to identify certain storms, how storms form, how to identify certain things on radar, and then just kind of an overview of what we do and an overview of the Skywarn program as we get through it, and most importantly, safety as well. So one of the things we want to mention, here at the Weather Service, we won't ever ask anyone to go chase storms. But as part of this course, you'll be equipped with the tools to recognize what you're seeing out there with the weather. And certainly on your own accord, you're free to go out and do whatever you need to do to see what's going on with storms and to get reports, but we won't ask you to go out in storm spots. We want you to be safe and aware of your surroundings. Never drive through flooded roads. If there's a really severe storm, try to keep your distance and things like that. So safety first when it comes to any of this. So why are spotters critical to Weather Service operations? Well, particularly in Utah, we have a very large, complex state with a lot of varied terrain. We don't know what's going on everywhere in our state, particularly in those parts of the state where there's little to no radar coverage. And that's where spotters can really help fill in the void in terms of, how large is the hail? How strong were the winds? Was there any damage related to the weather? Is there any flash flooding and things like that? Because your efforts help keep the rest of the community safe. Reports of ongoing flooding, for example, would encourage us to issue a flash flood warning if there wasn't already a warning in place. And it's that life safety watch warning advisory information. The Weather Service is the sole entity that issues those in the country. And that is really what drives us. Our mission is the protection of life and property. And that's where spotters can fill that void, is helping us maintain awareness of what's going on across our area. And speaking of radar limitations, you can see that here on this map. So everywhere in yellow here has excellent radar coverage. And we have 2 radars in our forecast area, one on Promontory Point out in the Great Salt Lake, and then another one on Blowhard Mountain, which is just east of Cedar City. So near those radars, coverage is excellent, but as you can see, there are portions of central and especially southeast Utah with little to no radar coverage. And that's a limitation that we're always dealing with during inclement weather. And then since this is a radio group, we thought we'd throw on our NOAA Weather Radio our NOAA Weather Radio coverage map. And you can see a good portion of the state is covered by NOAA Weather Radio. We have 13 transmitters in our area that our technicians maintain. And you can see really, other than the West Desert, there's excellent coverage. There's more weather radio coverage in our state than there is cell phone coverage. So, and then here's just a list of the stations in Utah and their frequencies and call signs. And so why is there radar coverage limitations? Well, as you can see, close to the radar, you're sampling the lower levels of the storm, but as you get farther and farther away from the radar, so for example, thunderstorms over southwest Wyoming, we're really only seeing the top of the storm. We're not sampling the part of the storm where a tornado would form most of the time in those cases. And that's where spotters can really help us out by getting us valuable information about what's happening on the ground. And then a little bit about us. As I mentioned, we issue out the watches, warnings, advisories for the U.S., as well as routine forecast products, aviation products, river products. And you can see we cover 26 counties in Utah, including Uinta County, Wyoming, second largest forecast area in the lower 48. So we have quite a bit of workload. And you can see our mission statement there as well, which I mentioned previously. And I'll turn it over to Hayden for this next portion.
Thanks, Alex. I kind of move this way a little bit so I can see and talk to you all. So I'm going to just give a brief overview of some of the types of weather that we experience here in Utah. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the weather, but these are some examples of some things that we'd like to know about. Some more of the extreme cases. The mundane day-to-day weather we aren't as interested in, but whenever it comes to severe weather, especially things that are impacting life and property, that's definitely something that we'd be interested in knowing. So first, microbursts. A lot of you are probably familiar or have at least heard of a microburst. They're very common in the arid climate of Utah. because we get a lot, especially during the summertime, a lot of thunderstorms that develop, and it's very dry at the surface. So that precipitation falls towards the ground, and as it's falling, it kind of dries up, and then the air mass just accelerates towards the surface, and it can cause very strong winds, seemingly out of nothing. You can, if it's like a very small storm, you could get these very strong microburst winds. And these are not always picked up on radar because they happen close to the surface. So as Alex was mentioning, these microbursts are something that, especially if it's far from the radar, we may not always see. So this is a microburst from West Jordan on August 5th, 2013. You can see the damage that it caused, as the monetary damage as well. And then we do get tornadoes in Utah. They're not super common, but they do happen. And a lot of times they will happen in areas that have poor radar coverage, and they will happen in the mountains too. A lot of people think that the mountains are immune to tornadoes, but this is actually one of the strongest recorded tornadoes that we've seen in Utah. It was an EF2 back in June 19, 2022, and we have a scale from EF0 to EF5, so an EF2 is kind of right there in the middle. Luckily, this was kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but this is the type of thing that unless somebody reports this to us, like, we probably don't know about it because it's out in the mountains where there's poor radar coverage, and especially if it's away from people and infrastructure and stuff, it may go days, weeks, sometimes even months before maybe somebody's hiking in this area and reports it to us. So if you see something like this, a lot of downed trees or a lot of damage, if you're out in nature or out in the rural areas and you see that, let us know, because we might not know about it, and we can go and survey it and decide how strong of a tornado it was, or if it was a tornado.
And I'll just mention, since then, we had 2 more EF2s in the state, both in San Juan County, both in 2025. One was with a thunderstorm and one was a fire tornado.
Yes.
So when we made these slides, this was the most recent EF2, but we've had 2 more since.
Yes. And maybe we've had other EF2s that we haven't known about because nobody's reported them. So encourage you all to report any damage you see. This is another example of a tornado in a more urban area, Riverdale, Washington Terrace, South Ogden, back in 2016. This was an EF1, 3 miles long, and yeah, $2 million in damage. This is a Penguich tornado back in 2016, EF1, and yeah, lasted 3/4 of a mile. And then we didn't include it, but there is also the infamous Salt Lake City tornado from 2001 that did cause a lot of damage and unfortunately a fatality as well. So next, something a little bit more common here in Utah is flooding and flash flooding, particularly during monsoon season. So in 2024 alone, there were 182 deaths in the United States due to flooding and flash flooding, 2 in Utah. And actually, since 1950, there have been 63 fatalities that we've known about in Utah due to flooding and flash flooding. Capitol Reef National Park is one of our hotspots for flash flooding. The terrain there, so lots of dry washes, lots of people hiking in dry riverbeds in monsoon season. You can get thunderstorms that roll through, and the thunderstorms can be far upstream, can be miles upstream. And so you could have somebody hiking, it's a bright sunny day, and you have a wall of water that's coming because of a thunderstorm that was upstream that's put down a lot of water. So just because you don't see thunderstorms when you're in nature, you just want to make sure, are there thunderstorms possible today? Lots of national parks, they will post the flash flood threat that we provide to them. And so just kind of being situationally aware when you're out in these places. So the next one is Goblin Valley State Park, Little Wild Horse. Slot Canyon flash flooding is probably one of our most common and one of our most dangerous, because when you get into these slot canyons, sometimes there's no way out once you go in except to go out, and sometimes that's a long ways. So yeah, we do see a lot of fatalities from slot canyon flash flooding.
And this is one of those parts of the state where we have essentially no radar coverage.
Yes.
Very, very little.
Yep.
It's hard to know what's happening.
This is one of the more tragic flash floods in our state's history. This was the Hilldale flash flood of September 14th, 2015. If you've ever been down to Hilldale, Utah, or Colorado City, Arizona, there's a lot of low water crossings across normally dry washes. Unfortunately, there is a van with at least 13 people in it, and they saw the water going across and decided that they could make it, and then ended up getting swept away because the waters were rising so rapidly. So there were 13 fatalities and 3 injuries in this case. And then there's the Draper flash flood just a few years ago that caused widespread damage, multi-million dollars from landslides and stuff that loosened up the earth and caused a lot of property damage in Draper. Next is lightning, another very common occurrence, especially during the summertime. And in 2024, there were 12 fatalities in the U.S., 1 fatality in Utah, and since 1950, we've had 68 fatalities from lightning here in the state. The lightning climatology, you can see that it's centered, the bullseye is across the southeast part of the U.S., but we do have a lot of lightning here in Utah, especially as you start going further southeast. Does anybody know why that might be? So the further south and east you go, the more monsoon thunderstorms that you tend to get during the summertime. These monsoon thunderstorms are the primary driver for a lot of the lightning here in the state. Windstorms, another very common thing in Utah that causes a lot of damage, and typically these windstorms manifest in downslope winds. Not as common in Utah County. The mountains here aren't as conducive for producing these downsloping winds, but as you get to Salt Lake north, up through Logan, downsloping winds become very common, and we've pretty much got a hot spot. If you've ever been to Lagoon in Farmington, that's probably the epicenter of where these downslope winds happen the most frequently and can be the most damaging. So as you get easterly winds, they come over the mountains and then they drop down, and as they drop down, they start to accelerate and can cause winds as high as sometimes over 100 miles per hour, and not just short bursts, but prolonged winds. So if you're ever in Farmington and you're especially near the mouths of canyons and stuff, you'll notice like a lot of the trees kind of bend one way because they experience these winds. So another very common thing, if you're near the mouth of a canyon, those canyons will also funnel winds, and sometimes you'll notice it's more windy near the mouth of a canyon. So this is from the downslope windstorm of 2011, 102 mile per hour wind gust in Centerville, lots of damage, 50,000 homes and businesses without power, and a lot of interstate and school closures. And then winter storms, something we haven't had a lot of this year, but we do get them occasionally. Snow is a little bit more manageable, but we do get freezing rain here in Utah. So this is from an ice storm from a freezing rain event back in January 2013. Once you get ice on things, that's when things get difficult, because you can drive in snow if you drive cautiously, but driving on a sheet of ice is a different story. But luckily we don't get these as often, but we can get them, especially if we get inversions. You get a lot of cold air, and then you get some moisture that kind of runs over that cold air. We can get some freezing rain during those scenarios. And I will pass it back off to Alex.
I like this little turning podium here. So some of the things you can see here that can help us out, definitely tornadoes, rotating wall clouds. We'll get a little more into what those will look like and how to identify them shortly. Flooding, water over roads, road closures, any damage caused by weather, whether it be structural or infrastructure. Hail, we'll talk a little bit about that too. Some reporting guidelines in terms of how to identify the size. Wildland fire, not so much these days. If you do become a spotter, you want to report snowfall, that's available as well. And so generally using the 4 W's, when you make a report, what, where, when, and what was the other one? Who? So we don't give out spotter ID numbers anymore. You complete the form, and we just, if you report it to us, just use your name, say I'm a trained weather spotter with you all, and be as specific as possible in terms of where you're located, even like a nearest intersection, not your address or anything like that, but your nearest intersection, something identifiable that's close to where you are. And of course, always report safely. Okay, so once you become a spotter and you get that certificate, these are some ways in which you can report what you're seeing to us. We have a lot of avenues in which you can report. So phone, email, social media. Eventually, once Bryant gets connected in, you can report to him as well over the radio. I know that's something that he's working towards. Another way you can report, I do this, so I have a 4-inch plastic gauge in my backyard. Hayden does as well. And you can join this Kokoraz program here and report your daily precipitation, so snow depth, and rainfall, and melted snow as well. That's something I do every day. Mike is our primary contact in the office. Kokoraz is a citizen weather observing site that allows you to observe and report precipitation. Community Collaborative Rain, Hail, and Snow Network. The one downside is there's a specific rain gauge that you're required to have to be a part of the program. It's a 4-inch gauge, and there is a cost involved. They're about $35 these days. So that is the one downside. And then, another question. Sure. You're welcome. All right. We have that slide towards the end as well if you missed it. Another one that we had there was MPing. It's an app that allows you to report a variety of weather information. It uses your phone's GPS, and as soon as you report, within seconds it's received. So it's a really quick way to get reports to us. I use it as well. There's an app called Radar Scope, one of the many apps you can use to look at radar data. I noticed after I submit an MPing report, it's on the radar map in about 5 seconds. So it's a really quick way to get reports to us as well. And it's all weather types that you can report through this app.
And that one you don't need to be like a certified spotter or anything. So if you don't want to become a spotter, but you still want to share information, this app, anyone can use the MPing app to submit information.
Good point. And then another one is if you have a home weather station, there's many brands of weather stations that are available. If you have one set up at your house, this is a way in which you can share the data with the National Weather Service. So I have a weather station at my house. I am a CWAP observer, so my data gets uploaded every 15 minutes and is accessible to anyone in the world. So to do that, you simply reach out to go to the CWAP website. They'll give you an ID after you fill out a few fields, And then you'll work with your weather station software to configure it to upload weather data to CWAP and MADIS, and then it gets ingested into our systems, it gets ingested into weather models, and things of that nature. Okay, so now we're getting into the good stuff. So ways in which you can anticipate severe weather. And here's another example of a recent tornado in our forecast area. We usually get about 4 to 5 tornadoes per year in Utah that we're aware of. There's probably more that we don't know about, but generally on average, the 30-year average is about 4 to 5. And here are some things some tools at your disposal to help you become weather aware. Of course, we're going to plug our own website, weather.gov/Salt Lake City. Some things on there that might be our weather story at the top of the page. We also post pretty much daily to social media in terms of our expectations. There's now a nice radar page on our website as well. And occasionally we'll post YouTube briefings, but generally just ahead of the highest anticipated or highest risk level type events where there's a risk for life and property over widespread areas. We mentioned NOAA Weather Radio. Those run about $35. And then a few slides back, we showed you the local frequencies that are around the state as well. And then, of course, your favorite local media or radio source as well in terms of the latest weather information. We work very closely with the media to ensure that we're saying the same message ahead of a storm. So the Storm Prediction Center, trying to remember the URL. If you use your favorite search engine, you can find it, spc.weather.gov, something like that. This is the entity that issues severe thunderstorm watches and tornado watches. Usually we'll have a coordination call with them in advance of one of these being issued. But those are actually issued on a national scale through them when they think conditions are ripe for tornadoes and severe weather. Locally, we issue the warnings when it comes to severe weather. So your severe thunderstorm warnings, your tornado warnings. Now, how many of you are using wireless emergency alerts on your phone? How many of you have those turned on? You've gotten the vibration in the alert, right? So there are some products that we issue that will trigger those. One of those is a tornado warning. Another one is a severe thunderstorm warning with a destructive tag applied. So 80-mile-per-hour winds or greater, a golf ball size hail or larger will trigger that. Go ahead.
What's the difference between a warning and a watch?
Yes, we have a slide about that. No, that's great. You're anticipating. So a watch basically means that conditions are favorable for whatever the watch is for, and a warning means that they're about to occur or are imminent. So a watch means that the ingredients are in place. So let's say you want to make tacos, right? You've got in the watch phase, you just got back from the store, you've got all your ingredients to make tacos. Once the tacos are made, now you're into the warning phase, essentially is another way to look at it. Snow squall warnings is another product that we issue that would trigger wireless emergency alerts if we select the significant tag on that warning.
And we'll talk about snow squalls here in a second.
And all flash flood warnings as well will trigger your phone. So an example of what a tornado warning looked like was there. It's a polygon shape. This was actually my first tornado warning that I ever issued, still my only one. We actually haven't issued one since 2011 in our office. Due to those radar limitations that we talked about. And that's kind of what the text would look like there when you see a warning. And so sort of a ready, set, go approach, right? Ready is kind of the outlook phase, generally like 2 days out. The watches, as we talked about, those are generally issued within a few hours of severe weather starting. And then the warning phase, the go phase, means that the severe weather is just about to start or has already begun. So some severe weather terms. Advisories, they're kind of nuisance events. We had one out today for this snowfall event. It's not necessarily life-threatening, but just kind of a nuisance event to be aware of that it could be life-threatening. But warnings are generally reserved for those life-threatening events or those events that could be destructive to property. And then we talked about the difference between the two. So what is a severe thunderstorm? How do we define it? So it's a thunderstorm that has wind gusts of 58 miles per hour or greater, 1 inch hail or larger, or contains a tornado.
And a lot of times in Utah, we haven't issued a tornado warning in a long time, but we will have storms that are severe, and maybe there could be a tornado if everything comes together. So sometimes we'll issue a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag on it. So we haven't had any confirmation of a tornado, but just be hyper aware that this thing could produce a tornado at any point, but there's currently not one ongoing.
And we actually have a slide in a few slides that shows you a picture of one of those storms. Hayden and I were both working for that one as well, where we did that same thing. So for thunderstorms to occur, what do we need? Well, we need some combination of these ingredients right here. We need moisture, we need lift, and we need instability. There's almost kind of a fourth ingredient here out west, and that's terrain. On those sunny days in the summer, you might remember when it's nice and sunny in the morning, and then we'll get those puffy cumulus clouds that form over the mountains. The mountains are also a source of thunderstorm initiation. And you can see those green arrows there are sort of the pathways in which moisture arrives to the lower 48. For us, we typically get our moisture from the southwest or the west. And then, like I mentioned, that picture right there kind of depicts a convective cell. When we warm the Earth's surface, that air tends to rise, and as it does so, it condenses and forms clouds. Once there's enough water vapor or ice crystals in the clouds, they can overcome gravity and fall to the ground as precipitation. And then instability is just a situation in where air wants to rise on its own. And another mechanism for lift beyond terrain is a cold front or a warm front, some sort of frontal feature that forces air to rise. And when air rises, that's when it forms clouds and eventually precipitation. So all of you have seen the radar, I'm sure, right, at this point. This is where we show you the types of thunderstorms, from single cell to multi-cell, self-explanatory. The supercell we'll talk a little bit more about, and that is actually the supercell where I issued the tornado warning there back in East Idaho a few years ago. And then a squall line. Our most common types of thunderstorms here are everything but the supercell. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. This is what they would look like actually with your eyes, like correlating what it looks like on the radar versus what it looks like. You can see that single cell is just one thunderstorm updraft all by itself. Multi-cell, you can see multiple thunderstorm updrafts there. The supercell has that amazing structure, that sort of textbook structure that we'll talk a little bit more about, and then the squall line as well. And what we see there is a shelf cloud, which tends to mark the leading edge of gusty winds. And then here's a little bit more about thunderstorm structure. We have updrafts, that's where the air rises into the storm. Downdraft is where the air rises or falls back down to the surface. There's an interface, there's a whole circulation. These are like living, breathing organisms in a sense, where there's a whole structure going on here. The thunderstorms more or less breathe. And then looking down from above, we can see a cold front and various areas where there's heavy rain, where there might be hail as well. So that the towering cumulus, that's the first stage of thunderstorm development. In those sunny days where you get into early afternoon, you start to see those cumulus clouds rise out over the terrain. This is the starting point of our thunderstorm day. And then we get into the mature stage. This is where the thunderstorm is typically in its strongest form, where we have strong updrafts, strong downdrafts, and the thunderstorm is maintaining its intensity at this point. And then the dissipating stage is where all the precipitation and hail falls out. That can be accompanied by gusty winds. Now that right there, that picture right there on the right, that's something we see a lot here in the West, is where we see this sort of convective cell with rain that's falling out of it and it's not making it to the ground. On those microburst days that Hayden talked about, often they look like nothing on radar, but they produce 60, 70 mile per hour winds. That's usually what they look like to the eye, those type of events. And they're sometimes associated with lightning, but not usually. And then wind shear. Wind shear is what we need to have supercells. So wind shear is a change in direction and speed with height. That is what causes, once we get that updraft to tilt, that is where we have thunderstorms that last the longest and tend to be the most severe. And that is because the thunderstorm is able to maintain its intensity. It has what we call good balance between the shear and the cold pool that it produces. And this helps the thunderstorm be self-sustaining. We need wind shear to help aid in that. Wind shear is also important on tornado days because wind shear helps cause, we call it vorticity, sort of a tube of air, if you will, at the surface that has some spin to it. If a thunderstorm updraft moves over that, it can tilt that updraft into the vertical, and that's usually the tornado. Hayden mentioned the Salt Lake City tornado. That's exactly what happened that day. We had a lake breeze boundary set up over the north part of the valley. A thunderstorm developed over the Oquirrh Mountains, passed over that lake breeze boundary. The storm ingested the boundary just like that, and then a tornado ended up forming due to that. So that's just another look at that there. You can see there's that tube of vorticity that's already in place before the thunderstorm develops. The thunderstorm ingests it there, and then it becomes a tornado. So we need just the right conditions for that to happen. So what a supercell might look like from far away, it'll have this impressive overshooting top and this anvil structure. These thunderstorms are typically severe. And we have some pictures of what that looks like here. So there's your well-developed anvil from a distance. This could be 50, 100 miles away. And then this wispy anvil down at the bottom is a thunderstorm dissipating or one that's not that strong. So that's what you're looking for there on the left in terms of a thunderstorm that is in its mature stage and is strong. It has that cauliflower type appearance. It's vertical. And you can see this one on the right, that's a much weaker system. It's not as high in the vertical, and it just looks a little less developed overall. So we talked a little bit about the shelf cloud. That's the leading edge of strong winds. Some other things that tell you that a thunderstorm might be severe. You can see in that picture there, you can see how white that is. Those are multiple hail shafts that are falling out of that thunderstorm. So that's a clue that there might be hail in that particular thunderstorm. I mentioned this earlier. We do occasionally see these, particularly with, if you remember back, that linear band of showers and thunderstorms. Typically they have this shelf cloud that's out in front of them. As soon as that passes overhead, that's typically when you see the strongest winds. So that's a kind of a photogenic feature that is often accompanied by those. Microbursts. So here's a picture of a microburst from my old home looking at my backyard in Idaho. The only clues we see here are some weak clouds and some dust off in the distance. This actually produced a 60-mile-per-hour wind gust at my house. It didn't look like much, but we had rain that was evaporating. It didn't even reach the ground. And that evaporating rain, the cooling associated with that is what caused those winds. A way in which you can approximate wind gusts, 50 to 60 miles per hour, usually some slight structural damage, some damage to shingles and some trees. But once you get over 70 miles per hour, especially 100 miles per hour greater, that's when we start to see some significant structure damage. As we mentioned, hail, thunderstorms that contain hail, they tend to have this sort of greenish tint to the sky, or you'll see these hail shafts extending down from the thunderstorm like we saw in that earlier picture a couple of slides ago as well. So the largest hailstone ever recorded so far, at least in the country, was in 2003. I believe this was 8 inches in diameter or something like that. Don't remember the exact value, but it was big enough to cause holes in roofs as it fell. And that is the hail size right there. That gentleman put it in his freezer and preserved it for, reporting. And here's another role of the spotter coming in handy, right? This gentleman was a storm spotter, and he reported this hail to the Weather Service and ended up breaking a world record. So that could be you one day. Hopefully not, though, because your house or your car is going to be damaged.
The largest in Utah is like 2.5 inches.
2.5 inches is the Utah record largest hailstone. So when reporting hail size, a lot of people, we get like random things. Oh, it was as large as, a marble, or the problem with marbles is they come in different sizes. So typically we want to approximate hail with change. There's a hail size chart on the web: baseball, softball, grapefruit. once we get bigger than this. But we probably won't see hail much larger than that in Utah, fortunately. So another look at that storm structure that we talked about earlier. This is as textbook as it gets in terms of what a supercell looks like. Supercells are the type of thunderstorm that produces tornadoes, large hail. This is just a look at the structure. You can see our overshooting top, which is up above the updraft that we talked about, and some of the other features there that you can see as well. So again, a supercell, the definition, it's a thunderstorm with a rotating updraft. They usually last a while. They can actually last hours. But we see them very rarely here because we usually lack the ingredients for supercells. We do see them on occasion though. And just another look at what a supercell looks like from the side with the typical radar image of a supercell there on the right. You would typically look for that hook echo, bounded weak echo region, and typically there's large hail just to the northeast in this image of where the hook echo is. That hook echo is typically where the tornado would be in a supercell thunderstorm. So Hayden mentioned sometimes we'll issue a severe thunderstorm warning with that tornado possible tag on it. This is a storm where we did that because according to the radar, it looked like there should be a tornado being produced by that particular thunderstorm, but this is what it looked like. So it was a rotating mesocyclone. All the ingredients were there for a tornado, except there was something missing. There either wasn't enough shear or not quite enough moisture, but the storm was rotating. It just never produced a funnel cloud or a tornado. And we were up on the roof looking at this one. And as soon as we saw a funnel cloud, we were just gonna run down the steps and say, all right, it's time, let's issue. So some other things that you'll look for. A wall cloud is a rotating wall of clouds that a tornado would come out of. So if you saw a tornado or a funnel cloud, it would drop out of that wall cloud. The wall cloud's part of that mesocyclone, that rotating part of a thunderstorm. And again, just some of the differences there. Shelf clouds, we see those quite often. That's your leading edge of strong winds. And then your wall cloud is that rotating portion of the thunderstorm. If you're gonna see a tornado or a funnel cloud, it'll drop somewhere out of that rotating wall cloud there. And typically, the wall cloud, it moves with the thunderstorm, so it's not detached. That's another kind of giveaway. And the rain is typically off to the right. A lot of times, if you're off to like the southwest part of a storm, you'll have a clear look into it, and it gives you a good look at that wall cloud. So a funnel cloud, this is a common area of confusion. A funnel cloud is not a tornado. To be a tornado, the funnel cloud has to touch the ground. And basically the funnel cloud is that rotating condensation cloud that isn't reaching the ground. But once it does, then it's defined as a tornado. But we want to know about funnel clouds and tornadoes because funnel clouds, it could become a tornado within minutes or less. And so a funnel cloud is enough for us to issue a tornado warning if the conditions are favorable. And then there's just another look at that Salt Lake tornado that we talked about a couple of times previously.
I think I said 2001 earlier. I mean
1999. Yep. And then just another look at one. This one was rather photogenic. This doesn't really look like it's touching the ground, but you can see that almost semi-transparent condensation cone that's coming down to the surface. So it looks like this was a funnel cloud that's just touched down, as we say. We also see a lot of these in Utah, a scud cloud. Sometimes those are reported to us as wall clouds, but the distinguishing feature is the scud cloud is not rotating. Go ahead.
Speaking of warning, you have 2 minutes.
Okay. We'll fly through the rest here. Thank you for the time reminder. Lightning, all I'll say about that is when thunder roars, go indoors. Or if you see a flash, dash inside. When you have a rotating supercell on radar and you have velocity data, you want to look for that red and green that's touching each other. That's an indication of rotation.
And then we can just kind of fly by these
Yeah.
next ones. So these next ones are just more things that we experience here in Utah. So flooding, flash flooding, an example of that, both in winter and summertime. And we issue watches, warnings, advisories for that as well as a flash flood potential rating So anywhere from not expected, possible, probable, or expected. And then, of course, report your flash flooding. And then we have marine weather, but not as much marine weather here in Utah. But if you're on a water body, then definitely keep an eye out for those watch warnings and advisories. We do the same thing for fire weather as well. We have wildland fires, such as the Bryant fire, that we can issue products for as well. And those definitely help, especially our firefighters. We work with them to help keep them safe when they're fighting fires, whether that's a change in wind direction or a severe thunderstorm is approaching and they need to go to safety as well. And then the aftermath of these fires can last for years. You have heavy rains on a burn scar that can lead to debris flows. And then, of course, our winter weather, watch warnings and advisories for those as well. Our snow squall warning, so this is what I was mentioning earlier. A snow squall is a very heavy, short duration of snow that will reduce visibility and will quickly accumulate snow on the roads. So snow squall is specifically a short duration event. Again, report your winter weather to us. We don't see freezing rain very often in Utah, but if you do, then you can either measure it from the flat surface, or if it's around a branch, then measure the radial of it. And then I think that's pretty
We were close.
all we have.
I got a question.
Sure.
Most of us are really worried about, I mean, a lot of that stuff we don't worry so much about, but lightning is a big one.
Yeah.
And I was on the golf course one day, really close to getting struck by lightning. I was at Schofield in 2011 when the kid got killed at the Schofield. What is the best site that we can get a warning for or a prediction for the event of a possible lightning advisory or warning or whatever, so that we know when to unplug our equipment?
Unfortunately, the science isn't really there in terms of knowing when or where lightning might strike. So there isn't a product like a lightning watch warning or advisory, unfortunately. Hopefully someday the science will be there. There are some lightning detection devices out there and also some websites where you can view lightning strikes. Lightningmaps.org is one. There's some others if you use your favorite search engine. But you're right. And does anyone know where's the safest place to be in a thunderstorm?
Space shuttle.
That would definitely be. A sturdy structure, so like this, away from windows. And actually, contrary to popular belief, a vehicle is a safe place to be, as long as it's not a convertible. So the metal around a car is an insulator. So if lightning strikes a car, the lightning goes around the metal cage and out through the tires. So something like a picnic shelter in a park is not a safe place, because actually most of the injuries and fatalities that occur with lightning, it's either lightning that comes through the ground through, say, tree branches, or lightning or side lightning that comes in from the side. So that's why a building that has walls is a safe place to be. So that's a good question. We certainly get a lot of lightning.
Stuff comes through fast. Like
Yeah.
I feel it came through so fast, no warnings.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and so lightning is not a criteria for issuing any warnings for thunderstorms. Lightning isn't one of the severe criterias because lightning is so common. If we were issuing like severe thunderstorm warnings for everything that had lightning, then we would be overissuing, kind of like the boy who cried wolf. Like, people wouldn't necessarily be paying attention to that. So just because a storm doesn't have like a warning associated with it doesn't mean that it can't produce lightning, because almost any thunderstorm any storm that has lift, like a cumulus or a cumulonimbus cloud, is capable of producing lightning. Not meaning that it will, but is capable. And it may not have any other severe like wind gusts or hail or tornadoes associated with it that would cause us to issue like a warning for that.
Yeah, we like to say just be weather aware. Be aware of the clues that you're seeing with any building billowy clouds. And if you can hear thunder, then you're close enough to potentially be struck by lightning. Lightning can strike up to 10 miles from a thunderstorm away. Occasionally even farther than that.
And if you are caught out in the open with no shelter to go to, the best thing you want to do is crouch down and put your hands over your head. You want to kind of get as small as possible and have your heels on the ground. That's hopefully you're never in that situation, but yeah, if there's a lot of lightning around you.
Is there another question?
Oh. Oh wow.
It hit powerful, 30 to 40 feet away. Getting hit by the lightning resulted in a fireball.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
The plastic gave up.
Wow. Glad you're okay. That was close. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Do you feel like you know more now than you did an hour and a half ago? That's the main thing. We'll take your silence as a yes. All right, a couple of thumbs up. Thanks for having us again, and safe travels home.
All right. Once again, we really appreciate the guys from Skywarn and NOAA for coming in and presenting extremely interesting information. So let's give them another round of applause. And before we get into door prizes, we'll have Jackson come up and get ready to do that. There is a table of freebies in the back. If you have not gone back there and picked through that stuff, feel free to do so tonight. There's some goodies back there that need to find a home, so please do that. Yes. Oh, Carl's got J-poles for anybody who's looking for a J-pole antenna. You can contact him after the meeting as well. All right, Jackson. All right, everybody got a ticket? Is there anybody that does not have a ticket? Hold your hands up high. And while he's doing that, some of the gifts we got tonight, of course, we got a J-pole, got a Yaesu microphone, a two-way transceiver. This is one of the computers. Windows computer. A couple of other handheld type antennas. A club light and a power bar or a power battery for your phone. Okay. All right, Jackson's gonna pull the magic numbers.
700.
700. I'm on that.
Should I just call another one?
Yeah, is Joe still here? Joe usually wants to take a picture, but I guess he's not here, so. Go ahead and pick one of the prizes.
647.
647. Probably Joe.
Not me. If it's me, I'm gonna feel weird.
You pulled your own ticket.
I didn't do it on purpose.
Go pick a prize.
Just stand there and check. Take a photo. If Joe's not here to take it. There we go. Say money.
Money.
Oh, perfect smile. Thank you.
Okay, what are you picking?
I don't need anything.
Okay, next one.
682.
682, all right, Sabra. Go ahead and pick another one so that we can get through this.
I'll pick that up in a minute.
Sabra?
What do they have? Okay.
So they have
693.
Come on up. Oh, we've got a radio.
Call another one maybe, or should I wait for these guys?
Oh, that's right.
Okay. 704.
Chad's already done his picture. How about both of you guys? Okay. Please stay right there, Sabra. Maybe get you and Cricket and what's your name? Dwayne.
Okay, oops. 672.
Yeah. We'll follow this here. So yeah, just picture your prices over there. So we got several antenna flaps, flashlight.
Should I call another?
Yeah.
671.
All right, thanks for coming out, everybody. Remember, the city of Orem does us some great favors and let us use their facilities. So please make sure you clean up. The chairs can stay where they're at, but just make sure you clean up and the room as nice as we found it. And if you see our favorite public safety officer, Heath, around, he'll probably be down in a little bit. Thank him and let him know how much we appreciate the use of the facilities. And once again, thanks to Trevor for all the work he does. He packs a lot of stuff in here just to make this happen for us. So thanks, everybody. Is it up there? Yeah, we are gonna QSY to Apollo Burger. If you're hungry and want to sit down and have some more good eyeball QSOs, please join us over at Apollo Burger. And thanks for coming. We'll see you at Winterfield Day or the next meeting.